Kyle Shanahan has committed a long list of football sins in 2024. We will break them all down chronologically next on the Cohn Zone. Hey, welcome to the Cohn Zone. That's Lowell Cohn. I'm Grant Cohn. It's almost Thanksgiving, so maybe this show isn't in the spirit of Thanksgiving, but it's in the spirit of Yom Kippur, which was last couple of months ago. Now it's time to get into it for Kyle Shanahan. He's committed a lot of football sins in 2024, starting in the Super Bowl till now, almost the full calendar year. My dad, the famous columnist, has a Substack, which you may or may not subscribe to. I want you to subscribe to it right now. The link's in the description. He wrote a column today about Kyle Shanahan's football sins, and it was such a good column. I said, Dad, why don't we just do our entire show on his sins? Because I think we could talk about it for an hour. So,
okay, I'd like to just, with a preface, say I don't have anything personally against Kyle. I've never met the guy. I never will meet the guy, but I'm aware that he's not really doing a very good coaching job, and it started right at the Super Bowl. I compare him to Steve Kerr and Bruce Bochy, two guys I did cover. They really knew their business. Different sports, but they really knew their business and know their business. Kyle does not know his business the way those two superb Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame coaches do. So let's move on.
Yeah, and
Iggy.
a lot of people would argue that Kyle's done a lot of good things in his career. We're not here to debate that. We're here to just talk about 2024.
Right. He's done a lot of good things, and I give him credit for it. But now, where is he now, and where is the team? So, Iggy, sin number one.
Okay, so he had some come-from-behind wins in the playoffs that were impressive. He was down 17 at halftime of the NFC Championship game and won. That was impressive. Then in the Super Bowl, he's up 7 at halftime. He's got a lead once again in the second half, and he goes into passing bonanza mode, which is what he did in each of his other Super Bowl losses in the second half. So repeating history, blowing a second half lead in the Super Bowl by passing too much with a lead.
Yeah, and I've told this story. I've told this story before, but it's worth repeating. Iggy was at the Super Bowl. I was just home. And I was lying in bed, propped up on pillows, watching the game. And it's the third quarter, and my phone rings. And I'm thinking, who's calling me in the middle of the Super Bowl? And I wasn't going to answer, but I looked. It was Ira Miller, the great Ira Miller, who covered all 5 of the Niners championships. I go, Ira. He says, Lowell, he's doing it again. That's all he said, meaning when you should run the ball, he's passing the ball, and meaning he's going to lose this game. And so Ira called me from outside Chicago to tell me he's committing a sin.
Yeah, Niners were up 10-3 at halftime. Mahomes gets the ball, immediately throws a pick. Niners have the ball in Chiefs territory, and then in the third quarter, they pass 10 times and run 4 times, 2 handoffs to Christian McCaffrey in the whole third quarter when they were winning. So that's the beginning of That was the original sin of Kyle Shanahan in 2024. Then they get to overtime, and he either didn't know the rule or knew the rule and decided to take the ball first because he's not good at game theory. I don't know. But wanting the ball first in the overtime and then letting Patrick Mahomes close out the game.
Yeah, and again, it's been shown on TV. Mahomes comes prancing back to the sideline and yelling out loud, they want the ball. They want the ball. Like, can you believe this stuff? And so Kyle either didn't know the rule. My guess is he didn't know the rule, but I don't know. I'm not in his head. Or made the wrong choice, didn't know what to do. That's a football sin, and it cost him the Super Bowl. And it's on the coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the beginning of the year for Kyle Shanahan. Then he goes straight into the offseason, and within a few days of blowing the Super Bowl, blowing a lead in the second half, and really botching overtime, he fires Steve Wilks.
Oh. Okay. I have a lot to say about that. I believe Steve Wilkes was a really good defensive coordinator. I never met him, but I did see him on TV. He was is a man who's thoughtful. He's an intellectual. He's a gentleman. He has great presence. In the middle of the season, he was up in the booth and Kyle demanded that he come down on the field. That's literally a come down. It's a come
Yeah.
down. He
Mm-hmm.
humiliated the defensive coordinator and he set the stage for scapegoating him. In regulation time in the Super Bowl, Iggy, am I wrong? The offense scored 19 points.
That's correct.
Okay, that's not that great. And so then, okay, Mahomes comes back and they beat the 49ers after Kyle made this terrible mistake.
The only reason they got to the overtime is because the defense held Mahomes and Chiefs to 19 points. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, right. And then after the game, subsequently, he blamed Wilkes, and some of the players did too. My impression is, in not so veiled language, Bosa did as well. And they threw this guy cliche under the bus. Really, I don't think that was fair. And I think the way events have come after that, it shows it was very bad judgment. And I would imagine that he's made an enemy of Steve Wilkes. I imagine that he has. I thought the guy did a very good job. And afterward, a lot of the media took Kyle's part and said that Wilkes didn't do this or that. Iggy, I think he had the third-ranked defense in the league.
He had the third-ranked defense in the league. He gave up 17.5 points per game. Now the 49ers have the 20th ranked defense and give up 23.6 points per game.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, he was wrong in getting rid of Wilkes, especially for what he replaced him with. And he scapegoated the guy. It's a continuing pattern. He can't look at himself and say, my offense wasn't that great.
My game management wasn't that great.
My game management wasn't that great. I'm going to take it out on this guy. I'm going to take it out on this guy. I don't like that. And I feel it shows a lack of self-awareness and narrow-mindedness.
So he scapegoats the wrong guy. He should have pointed the finger at himself. He points it at Steve Wilkes. He's out. Okay, fine. Go get a better defensive coordinator. He promotes Nick Sorensen and gets rid of Anthony Lynn, an offensive assistant head coach, and replaces him with Brandon Staley, a defensive assistant head coach. And as we just pointed out, the defense is not good. I mean, I'd be surprised. They may have to fire Nick Sorensen after this year.
Well, I think they probably should. Iggy, what did Fred Warner say after that debacle in Green Bay about Sorensen?
So the Niners missed 19, 20 tackles. It was just disgusting. And someone asked Fred Warner after the game, like, what happened? How come you guys couldn't stop the run at all? And he goes, Green Bay really presented some run looks in the first half that we weren't prepared for. And we adjusted to them eventually, but we got to be ready for that stuff, which is not even that veiled language. It's saying our defensive coordinator didn't prepare us for the plays that the Packers were going to run.
Okay. Now, maybe he didn't prepare them. I mean, certainly there were a lot of weeks of 10 weeks of Packers games on film. They probably showed everything they have. Sorensen should have seen it. But even then, Warner, who I think is a stand-up guy, is blaming the coach. And it shows again, I feel that this team is in disarray, has been in disarray since the first game, and is pointing fingers. And here he's pointing fingers in the middle of the season at the defensive coordinator. Gee.
And you knew it was a bad promotion because they had to bring in Brandon Staley to help him. It's like, is Brandon Staley even good? He got ran out of L.A. So you have this combination trying to work together. They have different defensive philosophies. And to create room for Brandon Staley, they get rid of Anthony Lynn, who's now the run game coordinator with Washington, who's doing decently. I mean, meanwhile, the Niners offense, they move the ball pretty well, but they can't score in the red zone. They're one of the worst red zone offenses. It seems like Kyle Shanahan benefited in some ways from having, Anthony Lynn wasn't an offensive coordinator, but he had been an offensive coordinator. He kind of functioned as that guy during the week could help Kyle Shanahan game plan. Now he's gone, and I think the offense has suffered. The way he reconfigured the coaching staff in the offseason hurt the whole team, and the one guy he kept was the special teams coordinator, Brian Schneider, who's going to get fired, most likely.
Oh, I've never met the guy, but, he's gone. And he deserves to be gone, Iggy. Those special teams are really, really bad.
Really bad.
Really bad. Really bad. And they cost him games. So, again, I do believe that Kyle has hired very many good assistant coaches. But in this season, he's not handled his coaching staff all that well.
No, and there was reason to get rid of Brian Schneider. I mean, Moody missed an extra point in the field goal, and they had a muffed punt because Darrell Luter Jr. got blocked into the kicker, which the punt returner, which again happened a few weeks ago. So that was there. Then free agency starts, and the Niners turn into the biggest circus in the NFL. Brandon Ayuk hijacks the whole narrative of the team, overshadows everything, and Kyle Shanahan lets him for like 5 months.
Yeah, Kyle let him take over the team. And again, it was very obnoxious the way Brandon Ayuk handled himself, like a real adolescent. And and I have to put Lynch in on this and ownership. They caved to that kid. They caved. They gave him too much money. And, Iggy, when he wore the wrong shorts out to practice, it was a black shorts day and he was wearing red or something like that. Mm-hmm. That was a screw you to the coach. It was. Yeah. He had got his contract, and now he was saying, I'm untouchable. It was a screw you to the coach in front of everybody, in front of the media, in front of the team. It was a sign of Kyle losing the team, losing one of his players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had this big stare down game of chicken with Brandon Ayuk and made it seem like, oh, we don't have to pay you. We're going to draft Ricky Pearsall. We have options. We have leverage. We heard that all offseason. Niners have all the leverage. They don't have to give Brandon what he wants. And then they dragged it out, made it more of a spectacle than it needed to be. And at the very last minute, they gave him every single penny that he wanted. So it was a fruitless distraction.
And they shouldn't have. They should have drawn the line, and they should have been a tough. They on that side, I would have been with management. They should have been tough and said, "This is our offer, take it or leave it." That's what they should have done.
They should have traded him to Pittsburgh. You want to go to Pittsburgh? Here you go. Have a great time.
Yeah, go to Pittsburgh. Yeah,
go to Pittsburgh. And they should have traded Deebo Samuel too, but they didn't. Yeah, they should have traded Deebo Samuel too, but they didn't. And then these two guys sort of changed the culture of the team.
Yeah, well, we'll get
all of a sudden they're above everyone else. So the Brandon Ayuk drama was big. And then also in free agency, or this is during OTAs and minicamp, they extend Christian McCaffrey's contract and give him guaranteed money this year and next year while he's dealing with bilateral Achilles tendonitis.
Yeah, again, this is not only the coach, this is the whole organization. But look, God love Christian McCaffrey. He has been a great player, and his heart is in the right place. But I don't think you reward a guy when you have questions about his health. Certainly, you want to do due diligence and see what happens. I mean, I'm sure fans were happy that he's around and he got his money, but that's not how you do business. I really, do good teams do business like that? You reward this guy and give him this guaranteed money, and he has to run off to Germany to be able to play?
And I think what makes it even worse, you gave him this extension. He's a running back who's older. He had this injury that you either knew about or should have known about. But right after you give him the extension, you show up at his wedding and you're taking pictures like you're in his family when you kind of are in his family. I mean, your dad coached his dad. The Shanahans and the McCaffreys go back for generations. So it almost looked like the good old boys taking care of each other, which it may have not been that, but the fact that it could be perceived that way isn't good for the 49ers.
That's very interesting. I think there should be a distance between a football head coach and the players. Eddie was very close with players, but Bill Walsh was not. I saw him. He was cordial, but he knew that he was going to get rid of these guys at some point. and he kept a polite distance. He would become close after they retired. He was very, very loyal to all of his 49er players after he retired, but he was rather standoffish. And I have to say, I think that's how you do it. And I think Kyle is not a good, one of his sins is not a good leader. He doesn't know the right distance.
Absolutely. He's way too close. He has friends on the team, and that means that he has people who aren't quite his friends on the team.
He plays favorites.
We're still in free agency. He does
Yeah.
play favorites, which is, again, it's supposed to be a meritocracy. It's not something that good coaches do. Okay.
Yeah, okay, we're
Sticking
still
in free agency. This didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but I think it's affecting the Niners now. Settling for Brandon Allen and Joshua Dobbs as the two backup quarterbacks.
Yes. You know, they used to talk. I love Lynch. He always was saying, we have a great quarterback room. We have a great quarterback room, whatever that means. Well, they ain't got a great quarterback room right now. You go from Purdy, who's a very good quarterback, hurt, unfortunately, to Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen is a career zilch. He's a career nothing.
Yeah.
There should have been, and Joshua Dobbs, who I think probably is better, but even there should have been, it's funny, you come back to Trey Lance. If they hadn't just thrown him away, they could have developed a whole different offense with him, and they could have emphasized running. There would have been another look. There would have been something else they could have given, as opposed to Brandon Allen, who was sort of a carbon copy of Brock Purdy, but not a very good carbon copy.
Yeah, Brock Purdy who can't move.
Yeah, he's a Brock Purdy who can't move and who
has a broken finger.
That was the other thing. He played him. Now, the finger was on the other hand, but still you got to grip the ball, and he did fumble twice. And when you asked Shanahan about it, he gave you a look like, what are you asking me that for? I don't know. I wouldn't play.
A splint on his hand.
Yeah, I would probably play the other guy.
Yeah.
He's really,
but even yeah.
Let me just say, in the thing I wrote in Substack today, I emphasize one of his sins, which is stubbornness. Now, it's not one of the traditional sins, but he's really stubborn, Iggy. And if he and narrow-minded, I'm going to go with Brandon Allen. And if anyone says he should go with the other guy, that makes him more want to go with Brandon Allen. I used to be in coaching meetings with Bill Walsh. Other coaches would come up with ideas, and he would think about them right at the table. And he didn't always agree. You had to make a good case, but he was open-minded, and I saw him change his mind. This guy, it's like he's impervious to reality.
Yeah, why did he insist on making Brandon Allen his number 2 quarterback? Because everyone told him not to. Why did he overuse Christian McCaffrey when he came back from bilateral Achilles tendonitis? Because everyone told him not to. I think you can explain most of Kyle Shanahan's strange decisions by him sort of responding to his critics and making it clear that no one's going to tell him how to run his team, which is kind of actually telling him how to run his team just using reverse psychology.
Yeah, with that, like you do with a 2-year-old.
Yeah, like you do with a 2-year-old. Okay, so that's the offseason. I mean, just real quick before we move on from the backup quarterback point. In 2022, they go through 4 quarterbacks. They got Josh Johnson on the field at the very end of the season, and he's hurt too. And they say, boy, backup quarterback, it's a really important position. You can't have enough talent in that position. We're going to bring in Sam Darnold. And last year, they have 1 year where the quarterback doesn't get hurt. And they're like, screw it. This position doesn't matter anymore. No, if they actually had a backup quarterback who was decent, they have enough talent on their roster to win without Brock Purdy. The Packers had the foresight to bring in Malik Willis, and they won 2 games with him this year. So that's a big one to me. And then finally, right before the season starts, there was the Ricky Pearsall incident.
Oh, God. May I talk about that one, Iggy?
Mm-hmm.
The poor guy gets shot in Union Square. And this is a big deal. I mean, when a person gets shot, it's a big deal. A bullet.
Mm-hmm.
A bullet went through this poor kid. It became national news, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I've never met Kyle Shanahan, but I've been around a lot of coaches in my life, Iggy. Kyle must live somewhere in the South Bay. I don't know. Hey, Kyle, you're a number one draft pick, just got shot. I'm not going to go to the hospital. We're having a party tonight. I have a party.
Mhm.
I can't just concentrate on one player. He said something like that. I got a whole team to worry about. We have to
Mhm.
do team bonding. It was team bonding. Well, how did that work out? The team bonding. I have to do team
Mhm.
bonding. So he's there at his house, drinking, listening to music, and this kid's in San
Hanging out with that
Francisco
rapper
General
Rick
Hospital.
Ross.
Yeah, I mean, it the optics. Nothing wrong with a rapper, but it looks like you're just
He's not on the team.
having a great time, and this poor kid is in the hospital. And what would it have meant to Ricky Pearsall for the head coach? Now Lynch is a good guy, was very nice, but the head coach should have gone. And a lot of fans, I've talked about this, are really angry at me. No, he didn't have to go. Lynch went blah blah blah. He had a whole team. A certain percentage of fans always sides with management and or the coach. I'm telling you, it was wrong. It was the wrong thing to do. Any coach with backbone and character would have got his tush in the car and driven up to the hospital and had someone else monitor and do the party. His wife, um, Fred Warner could have been in charge. Whatever. You go to the hospital. And I feel so strong about this. My dad used to always try to tell me what's the right thing to do, Lowell, and what's the wrong thing. And I grew up hearing that. The right thing to do is to be there with your player who got shot. And it would have helped the team. It would have shown the team where um, Kyle Shanahan's morality is and where his priorities are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Ricky Pearsall said on the record that when he saw John Lynch walk in the hospital room, he broke into tears because it meant
Started to
that much to
cry.
him. Meant that much to
Yeah.
him. So I'm thinking it would have meant
And
something to him if Kyle had walked in too.
so let's linger on this for a minute. And Iggy, I'd rather talk about this than you.
Mhm.
About Kyle's point of view. Why didn't he go? Was it that it was a pain in the ass? He didn't want to drive? Was it that he felt he owed the team a party? Or was it that he simply has no empathy, doesn't understand? He understands football plays, but you also have to understand people. Now, with Javarius Ward, he's been wonderful. So I want to give him credit for that. This poor man is what he's going through. He's been wonderful. Why wasn't he wonderful with Ricky Pearsall? It's not quite as bad as what happened to Javarius Ward, but it was a tragedy. It was very bad. And I just think, have a heart. Show people you have a heart. And it makes me, Iggy, it makes me feel uncomfortable about Kyle. It's not only what he did with Pearsall was a football sin. Iggy, it was a sin.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. So, guys, we're 23 minutes and 32 seconds in, and we haven't even gotten to week one.
Yeah.
We just finished the off-season sins of Kyle
Yeah.
Shanahan. The list started with him blowing a lead in the second half of the Super Bowl. Regular season starts. They beat the Jets. They lose to the Vikings. That's not a sin. The Vikings are really good. Next week, they go to the Rams and blow a
Oy.
10-point fourth quarter lead. And that's the
To
first of
that,
three that they end up blowing in the first 10 games of the season.
and Iggy, to a crummy team.
Crummy team, missing a bunch
They
of players.
crummy team,
Mhm.
continuing to be a crummy team. Iggy.
Yeah, it's like the Niners wanted to use the injury excuse for themselves. We don't have Christian McCaffrey. Oh my God, we don't have Dre Greenlaw. They didn't have Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and a bunch of players on defense, and they still won. The Rams.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was embarrassing. And
And
it's an
Iggy,
extension of how they lost the Super Bowl.
and I'd like to say one thing. That was the first clue that this incarnation of the 49ers is not a good team. We didn't know it, but losing that game was the first indication that this is not a good team. And for everyone watching, this is not a good team.
Right. So they struggle through the first half of the season. They get to the bye week. People still making excuses for them. Look, they've been a complete circus all year. They've had nothing but drama, and bad luck. But Christian McCaffrey's coming back, and they're right in the thick of it at 500. This team's going to go on a run. McCaffrey comes back, and Kyle Shanahan immediately overuses him and buries the two young running backs, Mason and Garendo, who carried the rushing offense through the first half of the season and did a really good job, particularly Mason.
Okay.
As a result, the offense gets worse.
This is a cardinal sin. We need to linger over it. He got back McCaffrey, and clearly a lot of his offense goes through McCaffrey. And he I got McCaffrey back. I can do this again. As opposed to, is McCaffrey up to carrying the offense the way he did last season? Kyle doesn't even seem to notice. So he puts McCaffrey in. Iggy, in the last game, per yards per carry was 2.8 or 2.9. Mm-hmm. It was pathetic. Mm-hmm. It was under 3. I mean, he's not yet able to get that burst and go through the line of scrimmage to the next level. Everybody sees it. Kyle must see it, but he's so stubborn. Again, he says, no, this is the guy I want. So here's what he does. Let's forget Garendo for a minute. He takes out Jordan Mason, who was a mainstay of the offense through the first part of the season. And Iggy, he did a beautiful job. Mm-hmm. He's a pleasure to watch. And so he leaves him on the and insults him. I mean, how can you not feel insulted when you become an asterisk when you were the main text? How can you not? Mm-hmm. And I would imagine hurt his confidence. But now he goes through McCaffrey, who can't do it, and hurt his confidence when there were so many other interesting ways he could have done it. You want to play McCaffrey? Fine. Use them both. Use them, put them both in the backfield. Get Juszczyk off the field because he does nothing. Get him off the field. Put the better player in. Put in Jordan Mason and confuse defenses. You can throw screen passes to McCaffrey. You can have him running routes. You can have him do all kinds of things, but the up the middle running goes to number 24. I'm a football idiot, and I can see that. But Kyle is so stubborn. He didn't do it. Now, he may do it in the next game, but he didn't do it in 3 games. And Iggy, it's a very bad look for that coach. And I want to say, players notice. Mm-hmm. I've been in a million locker rooms. They're sitting there saying to themselves, what is he doing? What happened? What happened? What do they call him, Mason? JP or something?
Yeah, Trent Williams, just a couple of months ago, said that he reminded him of Marshawn Lynch on the record.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch. And they're sitting there. They must think, we might stand a better chance with Mason or with both of them, but he's not doing it. And they're probably asking, why? Why is he losing games? And they talk about, well, he's getting into shape. You don't get into shape in the middle of the season. It's not spring training. You got to be in shape. When you're in shape, you play more. But he's not in shape, and you don't keep giving him the ball. Iggy, this is one of his biggest sins, and what he's done to those two. You described McCaffrey after the game in Green Bay, how he sat at his locker with his elbows on his knees, staring into space. That poor kid must be wondering, am I ever going to be Christian McCaffrey again? He must be wondering about his future. It's a tragic look. And I put it on Kyle. He didn't have to put that kid in that position. He's there not to hurt his players. He's there to boost them up. And there are ways he could have boosted Christian, and he didn't.
I mean, just look at this. They played Seattle last week and scored 17 points, and that was with the Christian McCaffrey offense that he shouldn't be using. October 10th, they played Seattle in Seattle and scored 36 points without Christian McCaffrey. That just shows you that Kyle Shanahan is misusing the talent at his disposal. He had a better handle on it a month and a half ago than he does now.
I don't think he's stupid. I don't. No. I don't think he's stupid, but I think he gets in his own way, and I think he's stubborn. And, I've been around many people in my life much brighter than I am. And one of the things, the qualities that I admire wisdom and I admire open mindedness, rethinking things, listening to other people, listening to yourself, looking in the mirror. I admire that. And I admire people like that. And people who aren't like that, I don't want to be around.
Okay, more sins from the season. He blew those leads. He buried Mason. He's stubbornly sticking with Kyle Juszczyk and using McCaffrey too much before he's ready. Then there was that fight in Tampa Bay, which was embarrassing. Kyle Shanahan could have come away from it looking like a great leader by saying, not taking sides. But he took sides, and he took Deebo's side.
Explain the fight. What happened?
Okay, so Tampa Bay, the Niners are winning in the fourth quarter. Jake Moody misses his third field goal attempt of the game. He's made two, but he's missed his third. The Niners are still up by, I believe, 3 points. And Deebo Samuel walks over to Jake Moody on the sideline and tells him to lock in, maybe more. That's what was reported. The long snapper comes to defend Jake Moody, tells Deebo Samuel, you don't think he understands that? You don't think he's trying? Deebo Samuel gives Tabor Pepper a baby punch to the throat and walks away. That was the fight. And the Niners end up winning.
Okay. Who said it was a baby punch?
Kyle.
Yeah. First of all, you keep your hands to yourself. He didn't need Deebo. Neither of them needed Deebo to tell him he needed to do better. You think he didn't know? You think he wasn't trying? That wasn't going to help him. Then the long snapper, what's his name?
Tabor Pepper.
Pepper stands up for the kicker, which is the right thing to do.
Someone
he
had to.
Stood up for a teammate. And then Deebo puts his hands on him. First of all, who the hell is Deebo to do it? This is the coach's job. And is Deebo having such a great season that he could talk to other people about underperforming? You keep your hands off him. But then say what Kyle did.
Kyle Shanahan definitely took Deebo Samuel's side by saying that Tabor Pepper overreacted and that Deebo Samuel was just trying to hold his teammates accountable, which is okay.
Yeah. In a case like that, the coach stays neutral. You don't play favorites. You don't crush your long snapper publicly. You want to talk about it, you do it privately. He took sides. He went on the side of Deebo and made this guy seem like he did wrong. That's not the right thing to do. What he should have said, it was just an incident. Things like this happen on football fields all the time. It's football players being football players. We all made up. We all laughed about it. And we moved on. What would have been so hard for that? But again, as opposed to unifying his team, he creates divisions on his own team and plays favorites and has bad judgment. That's one of his biggest sins, Iggy, what he did that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, continuing to overemphasize Deebo Samuel in the offense. Since Deebo Samuel did that to Jake Moody in the last 2 games, he has 11 targets and he's caught 5 passes and gained 42 yards from scrimmage. He's done absolutely nothing, and he's been featured prominently in the offense to the detriment of the team. And that's on Kyle.
As he was in the Super Bowl.
Yep. And it all comes full circle. That was one of the original sins, and we didn't even list it. 11 targets for Deebo in the Super Bowl. Maybe if he had 2 and 9 went to other players such as Jawan Jennings and George Kittle, they win that game.
Yeah. I don't know what the love affair with Deebo Samuel is, but let's come back to the Green Bay game. The pass, it was a nice pass. He had it in his hands, Iggy. It went through his hands and got intercepted. That was 100% on Samuel. It wasn't on the quarterback. It was 100% on him. And you keep going to him? I don't get it. Here's the thing. He used to be one of the most dynamic players in the league. He used to be almost at the level of Lamar Jackson. But he's not anymore. Yes, he's not anymore.
Mm-mm.
He's really not. And this is another thing. Kyle doesn't recognize reality. Uh, he's taken a lot of hits in his life, Samuel. I'm not blaming him for not being as good as he used to be, but Iggy, this should be his last season on the team, and he should not be featured. He should be the number 3 wide receiver, and Ricky
And the kick
Pearsall should be
returner.
a kick returner, and Ricky Pearsall should be the number 2. He was their first round pick, for God's sake. He's good.
Right. And this is his last Deebo, this should be his last year on the team. Start phasing him out. He's not helping on the field or in the locker room or in any way.
No.
So
Have we run out of sins?
I think we did. That was 35 minutes and 45 seconds of sins for Kyle Shanahan. And there's 5 games left. Did I count that right? Yeah. No. They're 5 and 6. There's 6 games left. There's a lot more time for him to commit more sins.
Right. He's a serial sinner. Hey, Iggy.
Yeah.
They could make the playoffs if they win their stinky division. I mean, it's up for grabs. I don't think the Rams have a chance, but anyone else does. They could win the division and get into the playoffs. That would not exonerate Kyle, but they could do that. But Iggy, a few weeks ago, I said it's possible they're a 10-7 team. Iggy, I don't think they're a 10-7 team.
It's possible they're a 7-10 team.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, probably more likely at that point. All right, let's take the super chats and see what people think about Kyle Shanahan's sins. Marty Doberman says, didn't Kyle also say he was calling plays on defense too? He was helping Steve Wilkes' game plan down the stretch. Fish and Chips has a full season of malpractice from Kyle Shanahan in 2024. Oh, we're not done. We got more this year. Fish and Chips says Kyle Shanahan appearance, attitude, and demeanor stink.
Yeah.
Fish and Chips says time to remove all other responsibilities off Kyle Shanahan. All of them? Dave Barclay says Patriot Builders listening. Lyle sucks. Love you guys.
Thank you.
He only calls him Lyle. Jacob Lawrence says, thank you both for the wonderful content you provide, and thank you for not being afraid to challenge the 49ers when they fall apart. I look forward to the show every week. Happy holidays to you both.
Back to you, Jacob. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob. The Black Hercules says, you guys are the best. Question for Lowell from a fellow writer, UCLA alumnus, and Stanford professor. What are your top 3 tips for writing more compelling narratives and engaging sentences? Hashtag free Jordan Mason.
Boy, that's interesting. Black Hercules, hold on a second. Wasn't Ken Norton the Black Hercules?
I don't know.
He might have been. Anyway, I always say, if you want to write, go out and get Strunk and White, get that little book about the elements of style. It's the first thing. It's the Bible for writers. Ken
Norton was the Black Hercules.
Yeah, Ken Norton. He had a beautiful body. And, I once spent an afternoon with Kenny Norton. He was just a lovely man. And he was a very good heavyweight, but he couldn't take a shot from really, really hard punchers. But he could fight well against Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, because they didn't hit that hard. So, yes, he was. It always comes back to boxing for me. Strunk and White is the first thing you got to do. The other is, when I write, it has to happen in the first sentence. There is no break-in period in writing. Your first sentence has to really be provocative and move ahead. And what I say is, you use active verbs, never the passive. Look it up. You use active verbs, and you have very sharp visual images all the way through. And when I write something, like when I used to write for Sports Illustrated, one of my tasks when I was done with the draft was, can I improve every verb here? And can I make my images more vivid?
Yeah, I love that. Spider369 says Drew Allard is Kyle Shanahan's next quarterback. I don't watch college football. I have to figure out who that guy is. I don't think Kyle Shanahan deserves another quarterback. He's got to make this work. Joshua Edwards says he won't even see his injured players on the field.
Meaning he doesn't go on the field when they get hurt? Is that what it means?
Look at his play sheet. Looking for the next play. Got to stay one step ahead. Paul Tilton says, hello, fellas. I appreciate you both as always.
Thank you,
El
Paul. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Paul. El Pancho Loco says a great leader or coach would have gathered the team while he has them and beeline to the hospital. That would have been team bonding.
I love it. Thank you so much. That's a very interesting comment.
Dave Barclay says Lowell asked Grant schmuck versus schlemiel definition.
Okay. A schmuck means literally a dick. You're a dick. And it's a hard, my mom was a Yiddish speaker. She spoke both English and Yiddish. And when she would call someone a schmuck, it would be like, he's a schmuck. And it was a real put down. Schlemiel and schlemazel are closer. They're related. A schlemiel,
like schmuck's a bad person.
A bad person. A schlemiel and a schlemazel are related. A schlemiel is a fool or a dope. And the primary example in The Joys of Yiddish is a guy sitting at a table in a restaurant and he orders a bowl of soup. And the waiter comes with the bowl of soup and trips and pours it on the guy's head. The waiter is the schlemiel. The schlemazel is the guy who gets it poured on his head. He's a poor soul. Mm-hmm. That's the distinction.
Like a target for bad luck, a magnet for bad luck. Got it. That was good, Dad. Paul Tilton says, happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you,
Ethan
Paul.
M. Been a member for 33 months. Thank you, Ethan M. He says, 4 years ago, I subscribed to your channel to complain about Kyle, and 4 years later, I'm still here complaining about the same coaching inadequacies.
Love you, Ethan.
RS says, do you think every DB Deebo faces looks like Craig? You don't understand. It's a reference. Deebo's got his name from a movie called Friday. Anyway, it's sleeper time. Hold on. What happened to his picks? Okay. Wait, we got pick time. We got pick action. So we got Turkey Day games. Those are fun. We got Detroit always playing Chicago. I was just there. Let's do Detroit first. Jared Goff, 199.5 passing yards. More or fewer?
More.
Easy. That pick's on sale. Thank you, Sleeper. Let's say Jahmyr Gibbs, receiving yards. This is the running back out of the backfield. 18.5. No, they won't let us. They won't let us. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let's do David Montgomery. Will he score a touchdown? Running back.
Yes.
He's a tough guy. And they give him those goal line opportunities. All right, Caleb Williams, quarterback for the Bears. We got 227.5 passing yards.
No way.
Not against Detroit?
No.
No. Love it. Next. DeAndre Swift, running back. Let's see. Rushing yards. 47.5.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next game. Giants and Dallas. That'll be a great game. Wow. Doesn't get much better than that. Tommy DeVito. Do you know this? You ever heard of this guy? Tommy DeVito, quarterback for the Giants?
That's your quarterback.
His celebration is he goes like this.
Okay.
Because he's Italian. 173.5. I'm quarter Italian.
Quarter Italian.
Yeah. He had a good quarter. Okay. 173.5 passing yards for Tommy DeVito against Dallas.
No.
Oh, God. Because you don't like Italians, huh?
I love Italian. I was married to one.
I love Italian. What are you talking about? Yeah, sure. That's what they all. Cooper Rush, quarterback for Dallas. 200.5 passing yards against the Giants.
Yeah.
Why not? Okay, last game on Turkey Day. Green Bay, Miami. Jordan Love. Interceptions. Will he throw one?
Yes. He's a machine.
Tua. Passing yards, 235.5.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. And let's see if we can get Josh Jacobs in here. I like Josh Jacobs.
I love him.
Rushing yards. 74.5. Ooh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you bet it. What are you talking about? They won't
Iggy,
let me do job. They capping us at 7, at 8, because they know we got all the right answers. It's all right. We'll take it. Submitting
did
the
I say
entry.
something about Jacobs?
Tell me.
He escaped from hell.
Oh my God. There's something about Raiders going to the Packers, the best thing. And Charles Woodson did the same thing, and now he's on the Packers Ring of Honor. That was a good move for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are our picks. They're all the right ones. Download Sleeper app. Use promo code Cohn, COHN. I'm giving away Ricky Pearsall signed jersey later today.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, oh yeah. Watch out. He's about to get a catch next week, Dad. I'm feeling it. Speaking of next week, the Niners are going to Buffalo. I'm going to Buffalo. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy, perhaps. And the Niners, this is the Niners' 7th must-win game in a row. What do you think? Is there any way the Niners actually win it?
No, they're going to lose this game. They're going to lose this game. But here's what I want to add while I'm about to cough.
Mm-hmm.
They would have lost this game if everyone were healthy.
Yep.
Bosa, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Ayuk. They would have, the way they have been coached this season and the way they're playing, they would have lost this game with all their players.
Right.
And now if they go in with, if Brandon Allen or even Purdy comes back, Iggy, they're going to lose this game. And I'm sorry. Maybe fans out there say, Lowell is so negative. And they're going to play a really good team with the second best quarterback in the league, who is a running quarterback. Iggy, Buffalo's going to win this game.
Agree. And I think I love that you said it's not about the injuries. When the 49ers try to rewrite history on 2024, they're going to say, we got hurt. There was nothing we could do. No. This season is the culmination of Kyle Shanahan's football sins.
Yeah.
That's what's going on right now. He has lost his team because he has committed at least one too many sins, and everyone knows it. And he can't overcome it.
Iggy, I want to.
He would have to say 800 Hail Marys in the next 2 weeks. I don't think he can do it, Dad.
I don't want to say he's lost his team. Let's say he's apparently lost his team. Can you live with that?
I can live with that. He's apparently lost his team.
Yeah, because we're not in there. From the outside, it looks to me like a coach who's lost his team, but I'm not in there. So I want to put that qualifier in. And anyone from the 49ers watching this, Grant and Lowell put in the qualifier, apparently. Say it again, Iggy.
Apparently.
Okay.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Iggy, is there any way they win this game?
No, absolutely not. Like you said, even if Nick Bosa plays, they can't stop the run. They can't tackle. They're the worst tackling team in football. He wouldn't change that. He's among the biggest defenders of missed tacklers. And then if Brock Purdy plays, is he going to, like you said, it seemed like there was something going on with his arm for weeks before he went down. He stopped throwing deep. It was apparent. So is all of a sudden he's going to come back and start ripping it down the field through the snow? Like, probably not.
Yeah, I was talking to Grant. I understand he got his arm hurt in the last game, but it almost looked like it was hurt before. He wasn't. He was running and scrambling when he had passing opportunities, and it was different from what he used to be. He used to be a really quick read, quick release guy, and I wondered if there was some arm fatigue or something. But again, I'm not there. Iggy's not in his arm. We don't know. But I had, even before he got hurt, I had wondered if there was something wrong. So anyway, Iggy, we're coming back. That we both feel there is simply no way they're going to win this game. I got a question.
No. Yeah.
Let's say they lose, then their record is 5-7. Do they do business as usual, or do they begin to phase out some veterans and start to emphasize some younger players, or is it too soon to do that? Because they could still win the division.
They won't do it.
Okay.
They'll go to try to win the division. But it just seems like even if they do win the division, they're not going to do anything in the playoffs. And yeah, eventually, like, what if Trent Williams suffers a serious injury when they're 5-8 or 5-7? That's awful. Or Christian McCaffrey. What if Christian McCaffrey blows out an Achilles in week 15 when he's been struggling and the team's going nowhere. That would be catastrophic. It could be the end of his career. It could take his season from him next year. So there's a lot of risk involved with just trying to push through and make it look as good as possible when they're losing.
Yeah, so maybe not after this loss. Maybe if they have an 8th loss, they begin to pull back on Deebo, on Juszczyk, and play younger people. That might be a good idea. I have one other thing to say. If I were running the team, I would fire Kyle Shanahan after this season, because I do think coaches get stale and they can no longer get their message across to a team. And I believe that's happening to him. It won't be the first coach that ever happened to. I would fire him, thank him and fire him. I don't think they're going to do that. They have a lot of money invested in him, and I understand that. So I think this is what's going to happen, Iggy. They'll keep him around probably for next season, but Iggy, he won't do much better next season. This is a bit of a rebuild now. He's done it once. I don't know if he has the heart to do it again or the judgment. So I think we've seen the best of his 49ers, the best. It crested last season. They went to the Super Bowl, and I think it's over with.
And what's really bleak for them is that heading into the season, they thought they had no more questions at quarterback, where now I think you got a lot of questions again. What's the deal with Brock Purdy's arm? Is it serious? Is it going to linger? Is this going to keep popping up? Is he going to keep having throwing arm injuries? Is he going to lose arm strength? Can you give him a 5-year contract? Maybe should you just give him a 2-year contract? All of a sudden, all those questions are on the table and they don't know the answer to them. They're going to have to find the answer to it in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's a big thing. What do you do with your quarterback?
Yeah, and if the answer is, geez, he's damaged goods and he's been great for us, but we can't commit long term, and we maybe need to hedge our bets and draft another quarterback or bring in another quarterback. Do you want Kyle Shanahan making that decision?
And also, is he capable of teaching a quarterback? I don't think he is. I know that Bill Walsh could teach a quarterback, and I know Mariucci could. Mariucci could teach a quarterback. I don't think this guy can.
What if they get bad news with Brock Purdy and they decide they don't want to extend him and they need to get a new quarterback? This is all hypothetical. And Kyle's solution to management is, let's go trade for Kirk Cousins. Love him.
Iggy, best way in the future. Kirk Cousins is not coming to the 49ers. It's not going to happen. I think their issue right now is Brock Purdy. What's going to happen? And look, he may finish the season gangbusters. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't even know if he's going to play in Buffalo.
Nope. I don't know if the Niners know he's going to play in Buffalo. To me, I think what they've said is, look, we cleared him. We gave him 2 MRIs. We don't see anything structurally wrong. He'll play when he decides he's ready.
Yeah. What I'm guessing is he must have some contusion there. He must have really taken a shot, because this kid would put his life on the line to play. He really is a gamer. So even if it doesn't show up in an MRI, he must have real discomfort if he's not playing. And again, so it's day to day. If it's not him, I would play Joshua Dobbs, but it doesn't matter. They could play Johnny Unitas and they would lose.
I do think it's interesting that when the Niners were struggling on offense, there were certain people that were saying, like, well, Kyle Shanahan's doing a good job. It's just that Brock Purdy's passing up open receivers and scrambling too much. And if he would just commit to the structure of the offense, it would do better. And then he goes down and Brandon Allen comes in and attempts to do just that. And the offense scores 10 points. So it seems like by not playing last week, Brock Purdy's stock went up a little bit, because all of a sudden it's like, yeah, he's really not the problem with this team. And if he doesn't play again this week and they struggle again, it would really drive the point home that he's been elevating what Kyle Shanahan's been asking him to do. And if he goes out there and plays it in Buffalo and struggles, can't throw the ball down the field, that could potentially really hurt his value. I'm just thinking about it from his agent's perspective, not from Brock's perspective.
Right.
So there's a lot at stake. Yeah.
There's a lot at stake. The agent is thinking about, what can I maximize money for my client? And we really don't think about that stuff. But from the agent's point of view, yes, he actually did better by not playing. Not that he didn't play because it was a good business thing. He didn't play because he couldn't play. But from the agent's
Right.
point of view, that might be a good thing. There's one other point.
Yeah,
I
it
want to
actually
make.
worked out for him. Because like you said, they weren't going to win in Green Bay one way or another if Brock Purdy played, if he didn't play. And same thing this weekend in Buffalo. They're not going to win one way or another. So Brock can go out there, get his ass kicked. And I'm sure he would love to because he's a team player. Or Brandon Allen can go out there and get his ass kicked.
Really? And the 49ers are going to go out there and get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
One other point I wanted
and
to
then fly home.
I put a tweet on X, whatever you call it, saying that I looked at a lot of commentary, and this was the day after they got beat by the Packers, and I didn't see. I saw a lot of people said the offense was really no good, and it wasn't. But no one put two and two together and said, well, maybe that Kyle has something to do with that. And a lot of people said that national people and people in podcasts, whatever that's called, have pointed that out. And I'm not arguing. I just really look at the local people, and the local people who are my friends. I think they're not taking the next logical step. If the offense is putrid, and it was in that game, Iggy, then at least the head coach has some responsibility, but very few people mention him. And I want to end on this, and I don't want to say why. I just would like to leave it. I'm puzzled by it. I don't want to even hazard a guess as why, but I'm puzzled that no one or very few people locally are pointing the finger at the head coach.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is. Everyone has their own motivation. Maybe people feel like he's really a really good coach, and you shouldn't be too hard on some guy who's having one bad season. Although this would be his fourth losing season in 8 years.
Yeah. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. It does seem like, I'm not talking about anyone specifically locally. It just seems like in general, media, Big M, is a little scared of him. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't either. Again, I've never met the guy. I've never looked him in the eye. I don't know why.
Yeah. Fish and Chip says promote Lynch to GM. If no, get a new one. He is the GM. Stephen Draper says Kyle Judgment. He thought Hurd was better than Jawan Jennings. Jalen Hurd. Ethan M says, what happens to this team when they miss the playoffs?
Well, again, that'll be that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the Yorks decide to do about that. Josh says, hey, Grant and Lowell, kind of late and not related, but what did you guys think of Paul Tyson? Hope all is well.
I didn't watch it. May I say why I didn't watch it? I love boxing. It's my favorite sport. And that to me was not boxing. And it would have put down boxing. And I couldn't watch a thing like that.
Yeah, it was like pro wrestling in boxing form.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it.
Yeah. All right, Dad, that was 58 minutes and 11 seconds of Kyle Shanahan sins. And I think there might have been more that we missed. So,
well, we have other opportunities.
He has other opportunities. Buffalo this weekend. I'll be there.
I'll be here.
Buffalo wings. Yeah.
Listen, everybody, have a wonderful, happy, and safe Thanksgiving. And thank you so much for watching us.
And again, make sure you check out my dad's Substack, subscribe to it. It's really good. He put out a column today about Kyle Shanahan's football sins. Check it out. It's in the description. And have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. I'll see you guys soon.
Love you, Iggy.
Love you too, Dad.